Do not adjust your digital device. What you are about to see and hear may shock and appall you. Join our hosts as they encounter countless thrills, spills, chills, and hilarity as they explore the very weirdest in pop culture. The following media is so strange, so beyond the scope of what is normal, it will make you ask the question, why does this exist? Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Why Does This Exist? I'm Chris.
And I'm Rob.
And today we have a very interesting show for you. We're going to take your faces off. We'll be talking about this movie. It's pretty terrible, but it's one of my favorite bad movies because
it's
of
the 11th highest grossing film of 1997.
Why wasn't it top? What were the top 10? What came out in 97?
Let's take a look. Well, Titanic was number one. Then you have
you can't compete with that.
You can't really compete with any of the movies that were in the top 10. So yeah,
what were they?
Titanic, The Lost World, Men in Black, Tomorrow Never Dies, Air Force One, As Good as It Gets. I don't even know what the fuck that movie is.
Oh, that's a Jack Nicholson movie. I've never really watched it, but people seem to like that one a lot.
Liar Liar, My Best Friend's Wedding, The Fifth Element, and The Full Monty.
Wow, that's a pretty stacked year.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, for that to even make it to number 11, I'm very surprised, especially with the type of movie that this is. Yeah. It's one of those movies that are so bad it's beautiful. But let me just give a quick spiel. We are Why Does This Exist? We are a podcast that talks about the weirdest in pop culture, whether it's a movie, like we're about to do, a video game like we did a few weeks ago with Ratchet and Clank, or anything in between. We talk about it, we say a few things, you lose brain cells, and that's the show. You can find us wherever you get out of your podcasts. If you're going to give us some money, there's a few ways to do that. All the links are at the bottom. There's Patreon, buy us a coffee. If you want to give us money, that's great. If you don't, that's fine too. But you get access to the Discord server and some other perks, and it's all wonderful. Everyone's very impressed here. You could also just do all the things on our social on YouTube, and you could just like and comment and subscribe and do all those things and help other people find us in the algorithm. That's really cool too. If you want to sub, we need to get to 50, but I know you don't give a shit because 0.02% of you are subscribed. That's proof enough. So subscribe if you want to, but just listen to the goddamn show. Speaking of, that's the news. Here's the weather. You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge from a ragtag group of rogues. So let's get on with the goddamn show. Tell the people about Face Off. I'm doing the thing. You can't see me. This is the part where you talk. Oh, now you're doing that weird thing again. Or you're like a robot. Oh, wait, no, you're back.
Can you?
Now you're doing it again. This is not good. I'm going to stall for everybody. This is me stalling.
All right.
Okay, thank God. I didn't have to stall.
Anyway, Face Off is a 1997 action movie directed by legendary Hong Kong filmmaker John Woo. John Woo is well known for his films that contain like big shootout scenes with a lot of like flying around, like people jumping and diving and shooting and like sparks flying and craziness. So there's plenty of that in Face Off. But the basic plot.
I actually didn't know that John Woo directed this movie, but it totally makes sense. Like actually, I watched it earlier today, but I did not realize that John Woo had any involvement. But but he does have a very specific style to the way his movies look.
Interestingly enough, I actually have always known John Woo directed it because we watched Face Off in my film class in high school.
Huh.
It was
Wait, why is that?
I guess I don't know.
What
Because
a
it was a
weird
John
movie.
Woo movie.
What
I
a
don't
weird
know
movie
why.
to pick for a film class.
Yes.
Some would think The Godfather would be the movie of choice.
Oh, we watched The Godfather too. We watched like
Oh,
all the
okay.
big ones.
Oh, all right.
But like for some reason, Face Off we watched also.
Maybe Titanic wasn't available.
I don't know, but anyway, I guess it was because of the the action sequences with John Woo and like how you can make an action movie with practical effects and actually make it really good. But anyway, so we have Sean Archer, who is an FBI agent who played by John Travolta, and he goes up against Castor Troy, who's a terrorist played by Nicolas Cage,
with a terrible name, by the way.
Yes. Yeah, Castor Troy and his brother Pollux Troy, which is like, okay, like why? So basically Castor Troy like was in a shootout with Sean Archer and ends up inadvertently killing his son, Michael. So like Archer's got like this like personal vendetta against him. And basically like ends up ambushing him and long story short, Troy ends up in a coma, and his younger brother Pollux gets arrested, but like before he gets into coma, he kind of like announces that there's a bomb somewhere in Los Angeles that's set to go off, but he gets so and Pollux isn't talking, so Castor's in a coma, Pollux won't say anything.
Well, Castor Troy, mind you, is a very charismatic individual, by the way.
Yes.
Who really, really enjoys grabbing women's butts.
Yeah.
Like, not that, I mean, everybody enjoys grabbing somebody's butt, but like he really likes it.
Yeah.
Especially in a priest outfit. Very strange. Very strange. He also has a terrible haircut to go with his terrible name.
Yeah.
What were the parents thinking of naming their kids Castor and Pollux?
I mean, who the hell knows? Maybe it's not their real names. Maybe it's like their aliases because they're terrorists.
I have no idea.
Anyway,
all I know is I could eat a peach for hours.
So in order to get the location of the bomb, Archer decides, or he has to go undercover as Castor Troy. And the way they do that is they take his face off and put it on him. So they literally like they cut fucking Castor Troy's face off and cut Sean's face off and then put Castor Troy's face on Sean and then John Travolta becomes Nicolas Cage. And yeah, it's a very bizarre concept.
It isn't like it's one of those things where like it sounds really good on paper.
Oh, and this is kind of, I think, part of the reason why we watched this movie in American film class is because my teacher was like, we're going to watch a movie where we get to see Nicolas Cage act like John Travolta and John Travolta act like Nicolas Cage.
Ah, okay.
So basically it's like, like Nicolas Cage tries to take on John Travolta's mannerisms. And, if anybody who's seen a Nicolas Cage movie, like Nicolas Cage doesn't play anybody else but Nicolas Cage.
No, that's the weird charm about the Cage Rage is I didn't get it for a very long time. Like for the longest time, I really did not like Nicolas Cage, and I did not see what the fascination was with him as an actor because I was just like I was looking at it face value, no pun intended, and I was like, he's a terrible actor. Why do people love him so much? And like, eventually, I don't know what it may have been Con Air. It may have been when I was watching Con Air at your house for the first time when I finally got it. And I was like, oh, this is why people enjoy him.
He's not a good actor, and I'm pretty sure he acknowledges that he's not like this. Like he's not De Niro.
No, he has said things like that where he's like, I'm not that great, but people get me.
Yeah, he plays fun roles. It's like Schwarzenegger. You're watching a
Yeah,
Schwarzenegger movie. You're not watching it because it's a fucking, a film, that's like going to be like studied for centuries as like an achievement of art, you know? It's like you're watching it because it's Arnold Schwarzenegger and he's blowing shit up. Like it's the
yeah,
same thing with Nicolas Cage. You're not watching it because it's like this great film, this profound thing. It's like it's just a fun movie to watch. And it's stupid and cheesy, but it's like hilarious at the same time and fun. And Face Off is no different.
yes. Actually, it's funny that that you mentioned Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone were originally in mind to play the lead roles in this film.
Well, that would have been great.
Yeah, I would have loved to see that, but
Yes.
like when I was thinking about I was thinking about it today, and I was telling the missus when I picked her up from the train and we got out of the supermarket, and we like the thing about this movie, I think it's good on paper, but the execution, it was just like it's just one of those movies where it was always going to be this bad no matter who was in there,
Yeah.
but everyone would still probably love it about the same, or if not more or less, depending on who the lead actors were. But I would have loved to see this with Schwarzenegger and Stallone. I think it would have been hysterical
Yeah,
because
it's all
they're already because like the two of them, they're already difficult to understand regularly sometimes, and just them trying to sound and like act like the other one would have made this movie so much funnier and so much better because it's just trying to picture that. It's just you can't picture them trying to like just imagine Stallone trying to do an Austrian accent and like both of them acting super serious and macho, but like a different like just playing off like just acting like slightly different. I think it would have been hysterical. And like Schwarzenegger trying to do like the Stallone mumble thing, like
it would have been.
that forget it. That would have killed me. I would love to live in the universe where we get that version.
Yeah.
But then that means we don't get this version, and this version is great on its own.
Uh,
So
well,
it's a double-edged sword.
some alternate universe that's sitting here talking about how we wish we got the Nicholas John Travolta in this movie. I'm sure. So
Well, exactly. I feel like this would have worked either way.
yeah,
But yeah, and like when John Woo came in, he decided that like he thought that the two that we got were already were like better for it anyway, which
yeah.
may be the case. We'll never know. But yeah, for whatever reason, the other like, but also like the studio wanted like another other groups of people too. So like they had also considered Michael Douglas and Harrison Ford. Probably would have gotten the roles if the movie was ready a decade earlier. Bruce Willis and Alec Baldwin, that I don't think that would have worked at all. But also no, and that was probably where Bruce Willis got connected to the Fifth Element. So
Yeah.
better for him. I
Yeah.
don't care. I don't know or care what Alec Baldwin ended up doing, but I feel like he wouldn't have done it anyway.
Yeah.
Jean Claude Van Damme and Steven Seagal again would have been great a decade earlier, or
Yeah.
like 5 years earlier. Would have
All that.
probably happened.
Well, John Van Damme was still pretty like, good at that point. Steven Seagal was starting to get like flabby and weird.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah,
late
I would say around like 5 years earlier that probably would have made sense.
Yes.
Denzel Washington and Wesley Snipes were another pair. That probably would have been a legitimately good movie.
That would have been pretty. Yeah, that would have been good. I think.
Yeah, I think
with Denzel Washington playing Sean Archer and Wesley Snipes as Castor Troy. Yeah.
Yeah, that probably would have been the best version of this movie ever.
But
Like
then
this,
Wesley Snipes is kind of getting like typecast as the terrorist bomber since he was
exactly. So it's a little
Man.
right. So it's a little much, but I think that would have been the best version of this movie, like as like a legitimately great action movie.
Yeah.
And like not known for being so silly. I think that would have been legitimately very good.
Yeah.
And the other one was De Niro and Al Pacino, which they've done too many movies together. They had already done too many movies together at that point, where
Yeah.
I like this is one where no one
And they
needs
had
to
just done
see it.
Heat also around this time, and Heat was like Heat is probably comparable to this in like terms of like, you know, the nemesis of like the cop versus the bad guy kind of thing.
Yeah, so I don't think that like I don't think that would have been very good. I think that would have been like a hit or I think it would have been like one of those movies that like in their catalog that like no one remembers whether or not it was any good and nobody cares.
Yeah.
I think it would have just been like a blip movie for them. So it was probably for the best that they didn't do it. But anyway, back to the rest of this shenanigan. So Nick Cage or Castor Troy, who was supposed to he's supposed to be in a coma for this entire like operation because like Sean Archer's supposed to go into this like super secret like off the grid maximum security prison that like
it's actually pretty cool because they have like these boots they have to wear that like are magnetic.
Yeah.
Like so they like get like stuck to the floor if they're like you know, it's like a riot going on or something, they turn the magnets on. So
yeah,
that was actually a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, it's pretty smart actually.
Yeah.
But he so they do the whole face operation thing, and actually one thing that I'd like to note is that when they were when they were starting their like pitch, when they were starting to pitch the idea to him in the movie, they walk over to like a 3D printer and it's 3D printing like somebody's ear on the Force.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to see that in 1997 because today we're, you know, like almost, you know, like less than 2 decades later, like this is a real thing that's happening.
Yeah.
So I thought it was very cool to see that. And I was like, it's one of those things where like you see it in a movie and like as it's already come to pass, you really appreciate the time period and like how like far ahead they were thinking where you were like, yeah, that'll be pretty common like at some point down the road.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of cool. That does also kind of scare me a little that like face-off surgery might become commonplace at some point too. But, you know, or maybe it's already a thing that we don't know about. It wouldn't surprise me.
I think they have done face transplants.
I think they have too.
That lady that got her face ripped off by a chimpanzee.
Oh, my cousin worked on that case. He was a cop in Connecticut at the time.
Oh shit.
Yeah, he worked him and his partner was like part of the lab and stuff like that. So, well, like his partner was on the Force too, but like he transitioned into like the lab work when he like, you know, got his stripes and like got his desk job after he put in his like 20 years or whatever. But both are like retired-ish now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never got to see this, but like he told me like there was one time where he was telling me, he was like, listen, if they let me take you down to the station, you could see her face in like a bag. And I was like, what?
God.
Yeah. Yeah. He was like, listen, if you want to see some sick shit, let me know.
You kids want to see a dead body?
But yeah, interesting stuff. But yeah, so he does the face-off surgery and they like send him to this maximum security prison and he's trying to like, well, one, he's kind of driven somewhat insane at like immediately and he's trying to like, and they have to talk him down and everything. And then he has to adjust in the prison like instantly so that like he doesn't blow his cover with the other inmates who, you know, he realized Castor Troy has made a lot of enemies along the way.
Yeah.
As any good supervillain should.
Yeah.
And
meanwhile, while this is all going on, the actual Castor Troy wakes up and
not supposed to, but he does.
Yeah, and realizes he has no face. Exactly. And so he threatens the doctor and has the doctor put Archer's face onto him, and he becomes Sean Archer.
While he's smoking a cigarette with no face, which is just gotta be very bad for your pores.
Oh, I'm sure.
If you have pores. Honestly, how does he not get infected immediately? He's walking around with no face and there's nothing protecting his face.
Maybe they
sprayed
some Lysol on him before he
or Windex. Maybe they got some maybe there was some like a can of Windex in the room.
They just sprayed his.
They're just constantly spraying him with Windex. That must hurt.
Oh god, yeah, I'm sure it stung like
hell. Oh, jeez. Just
it's like Two-Face in Dark Knight.
Oh my god. Think of the villains, people. Think of the villains.
Except his whole face is missing, not just half.
Yeah, completely. Well, his face is off.
He's one face, not Two-Face.
He's no face.
Or no face, yeah.
he's the faceless.
Zero face.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, just horrible.
Yeah.
Like I wish that they had given us more of the shot of him with no face walking around doing things with no face. Cuz like when they do show the little bit that they do show you is pretty like is legitimately pretty terrifying and also really cool at the same time.
Yeah. So eventually, or basically now that, Castor is now Archer, he decides that he's gonna like just become Archer and like take over his life, because no one knows that Archer is undercover and had his face transplant.
Right. He also murdered
the doctor, who's now dead.
Yes, the doctor and like all of the like people involved in that whole like thing, which was maybe like 3 or 4 people. He kills them. So now it's like just there is no going back at this point, or so it seems.
And there's actually parallels to another movie, which I'm going to talk about a little bit at the end, because it was actually mentioned in the Wikipedia article, and I want to bring it up because it's actually kind of interesting.
Oh no, they're reading the Wikipedia article. Why did I I paid for this? Why did I give them money on their Patreon? So many people are just saying this right now. Actually, probably no one. Probably no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
Most of them are probably just like, oh my god, I forgot I subscribed to that Patreon.
Yeah.
Let me cancel it immediately.
Yeah.
It's we probably just lost 40 of the 47 subscribers we have. So no. The bastards, they weren't listening anyway. No, everyone knows you don't touch that notification bell.
Yeah. So now like that Castor is like Sean Archer, and Sean Archer is Castor. He basically like he goes to the prison and talks to Pollux, and then like Pollux kind of like figures out that Archer, like he kind of like lets like Pollux know that he's like Archer, like, or Castor as Archer, lets Pollux know like, hey, I'm really Castor. And basically it's very confusing now the way I'm explaining it. So so basically like Pollux like tells him the location of the bomb and makes him like into this big hero, which is all part of the plan. And now the real Sean Archer, who everyone thinks is Castor Troy, is stuck in prison.
But he's also like freaking out, so he's like trying to tell people that like he tries to tell the guard, who is an asshole, that like he's. But like you can't really blame the guard. The guard is in like a maximum secure, in like a super max.
Yeah,
we're like above all these people. Yeah, he's in like an Omega Max.
Yeah,
like a secret max. I don't even know. He's in the max.
Omni Max.
Yes, and like the guards in the Omni Max with all of like the worst criminals in the world, like some of all time. So of course he doesn't believe them and he's an asshole. But we're like. Like the movie paints it in a way where like we're supposed to dislike the guard, but the guard is just doing his job.
Yeah, literally just doing his job as a guard with like in a fucking prison with like literally the worst possible offenders.
Yeah, like the top 0.01% of offenders.
Yeah,
like how do you expect it? Like, why do you wish? Like, would you want or expect the guard to treat them humanely? Yeah. After all the atrocities that they've committed? Like, we're talking about people who have probably killed small countries like in an afternoon just for fun. Like, these are not good people. We should not be thinking, oh my god, that guard's such an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, the guard has to like wake up and go to bed and then say, wow, I'm working here. This is my experience.
Yeah.
So cut them some slack. Anyway.
Yeah, so he stages this escape, gets out of the prison. And you know, and goes back to like he goes back to where like Castor Troy's headquarters is basically, and starts like, you know, pretending that he's Castor so he can like figure out what he's gonna do. Meanwhile, while this is all going down, the real Castor Troy, who's now Sean Archer, is basically like becoming this hero, and like also like treating his like the like Archer's wife and daughter better than the real Archer was at this point, like because he was so distracted with this case that he was like basically like a fucking absent father, and now he's actually like being like trying to be like a good wife or good husband and father, which is like hilarious.
Yeah. Even though he's kind of trying to sleep with
he's just
Archer's
trying to get
daughter.
laid, really.
Yeah. But like he's trying to sleep with the daughter, which is weird.
Yeah.
But the daughter is just kind of like, "Oh my god, when did dad get cool?" Yeah. So that at least that part is not explored too frequently.
Yeah. So all of this is going on, and the real Archer, who's Castor Troy, like meets like Troy's girlfriend, I guess, and his son.
But he doesn't know that he's his son.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. And then also the son is like, there's this weird scene where like, so Sean Archer, the fake Sean Archer that's actually Castor, decides to raid the hideout and kill everybody. Again, to look like a hero, but also to like silence any like witnesses, basically.
Yeah.
And like there's this huge shootout that happens, and meanwhile, like this little kid is like listening to fucking Somewhere Over the Rainbow while
yes, that is the most bizarre sequence in the movie.
It's very strange, and it makes you kind of like think like the kid is like got something wrong with him. Like,
oh, after this he will.
Yeah, well, definitely.
He doesn't now.
So basically, there's this huge fucking shootout. Everybody gets like a bunch of people get shot left and right. It's crazy. Like people are dying, and but Archer the real Archer, who's Castor Troy, actually is able to escape. And so is the kid. So basically, so at this point, also Pollux gets killed in the shootout, and Castor, who's like Archer, ends up killing he kills Archer's boss. It makes it look like a heart attack, and then is promoted to the like acting director of the fucking FBI.
Oh my god!
Which is like, what? Okay, like there's no investigation. He's like, oh, he had a heart attack. It's like freaking like Gladiator.
Yeah, nothing happens.
Marcus Aurelius, and they're just like, oh, he died. So I guess you're in command now.
Yeah, like there's no repercussions, there's no investigation, which there should be. But no, it's just like open and shut. Oh, okay. Like,
yeah.
But I mean, he was already starting to have a heart attack at the beginning of the scene, so like it was like because like he was like alluding to it because he was like shifting his left arm and everything, and like having trouble breathing. So like if he wasn't like it seemed like he was going to have a heart attack anyway, and like he just accelerated it, and he caught on, and like Castor knew that, so he accelerated it. I guess having caused so many heart attacks throughout his criminal career, you would know a sign when you see it, and for some reason he knew exactly what to do to like commence it.
Yeah.
So he just called it in, but like he doesn't call it in concerned or anything. Like he's not even like trying. He just calls in and he's like, "Oh yeah, Victor had a heart attack. Bye." Like just like, "Oh yeah, I think I'll have a turkey sandwich for lunch. Thank you." You know, like nothing like no urgency. Just like, yeah, just get a paramedic. He had a heart, or maybe he just has heart attacks all the time.
Oh,
maybe that was like, maybe that's his thing. He just has heart attacks often. So like,
it's like that character from SpongeBob who just falls asleep to his heart attacks.
Oh my god, that's a character in SpongeBob?
Yeah, he's got like glass bones. Oh, what's that friggin'? Hold on, I gotta look.
Oh, you mean the chocolate episode?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know that guy. Wait, he has heart attacks in like other episodes?
No, it's just that episode where he's like, I was born with glass bones and paper skin.
Does he mention the heart attack?
Yes.
Oh
every
my
morning I
god!
break my legs, and every afternoon I break my arms. At night I lie awake in agony until my heart attacks put me to sleep.
Oh my god! I never caught that part. Wow, early SpongeBob got away with so much shit.
Yeah.
Amazing. Fucking amazing. I learned something new today. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's the thing with like this Victor Lazar, like this like Victor Lazardo or whatever. He
was born with glass bones and paper skin,
and he just has heart attacks every night that put him to sleep. And then one day he has a heart attack that puts him asleep forever. Oh my god. How many heart attacks has Victor Lazardo had?
Well, now we'll never know. He's dead.
Oh no.
Imagine like he's like just immortal to heart attacks, and like it was actually like just like fucking Castor that like killed him finally. Like he would have survived. Oh, yeah. This is my 10th heart attack. I've had 18 bypass surgeries. Like,
yeah.
It was like one of those guys.
Yeah, he's like scheduled like every other week for like a checkup surgery.
Yeah. they just put a new fucking shunt in because it's like, yeah, we know you're gonna need one.
They just take a little hammer and chisel and they just
nail it right in.
He's not even on anesthesia. He's up the whole time.
Yeah.
He's just talking to them.
Reading the paper.
Yeah. No, you can't have anything to drink while that's going on.
His name is Lazaro. That's almost Lazarus, and Lazarus.
Yeah. You know what? Maybe that's the plot that we should. Yes, that's the plot line we should have been following this whole time. Wow, who is Victor Lazaro?
Anyway, like the real Archer is finally able to convince his wife that it's like him with Nicolas Cage's face, because he has her draw blood and finds out that it's like his blood type basically, and yeah, so
his wife is a doctor.
Yeah, his wife. Oh yeah, we forgot to mention that his wife is a doctor,
which we find out late anyway.
So she says like, oh, you know, he's gonna be at the funeral, so just go get him there, basically. So Sean Archer shows up to the funeral to fight Castor Troy, and they're, you know, obviously they're both in each other's body. It's so hard to explain.
It's just really fun to watch them like try to be the other guy, and like they both are not good at it, and it's okay because it's just very weird to see, but that's what makes it hysterical.
Yeah. So they have this big shootout. The woman Sasha, who's the mother of Castor's like kid.
Oh, by the way, when he finds out, when she tells him that he's the father, he like, it's like right before the raid, and like, and he like holds him and he does this weird face, like,
oh yeah,
thing
the weird face
that
thing
he did with
his actual.
He did that with his son, and like. He starts holding the kid, and he starts calling him like Michael, like the son of his child, like the name of his dead son. And like also another messed up thing is like like Castor Troy in John Travolta's body. I guess that's the way to say it.
Yeah.
Castor Troy in John Travolta's body like leaves to go to work like on the day that it would have been his son's birthday. So like every year it's the tradition that they visit the son's grave, and it's very sad.
Yeah.
And he like has no emotion to it. So his reaction to everything, it's just like, oh my God, can we just get this? Can we like do something else now? It's really funny because his wife is, well, it's funny, but it's messed up at the same, like the intention is not for it to be funny, but it ends up being that way. Like so many things in the movie.
Yeah.
Where like it's supposed to be a serious scene, the wife starts crying, and like he's kind of acts like a 5-year-old that just doesn't want to be in Target anymore.
Yeah.
And like just wants to go home to do whatever a 5-year-old does.
Yeah.
So it's like it ends up being pretty funny.
Yeah.
So, but the wife never really catches on
until the blood test, then she finally catches on.
That's about it.
I guess for a doctor, she's kind of a dumbass.
I mean, everybody in this movie is a dumbass.
Yeah. So Sasha gets shot and then is like, and then I guess Sean Archer, who's in Nicolas Cage's body, promises that he'll take care of her son and raise him and to not be in the criminal life, I guess, or whatever.
I guess.
So they're having this huge fight. Like Troy, like in Nicolas Cage's body, takes the daughter hostage, Jamie, but she like stabs him with the butterfly knife that he had given her, like, which is pretty like hilarious irony, basically.
Yes. So he gave her the butterfly knife because her like boyfriend or the guy that she was like seeing or starting to date
tried to rape
like,
her.
Yeah.
And then it's hilarious because fucking Castor Troy, who's like this huge criminal, saves her.
Yes. And like beats the crap out of her boyfriend and like gives her the knife and like he just says, "Listen, here's what you got to do. You got to stab him in the thigh and twist the blade so that the wound doesn't close, and it'll give a reminder."
Yeah,
basically,
she literally does that to him.
Yep.
So then they get into like they have they're like fighting and like running away, and
he does that weird lick, which is hysterical and like cringe, like gross at the same time.
Yeah, and
like he licks her face. It's like really like
yeah.
That's supposed because like it's supposed to be her dad.
Yeah. So then they get into like these speedboats. Now it's interesting little fact.
Thank God they didn't pursue that and like make it go the other way where like she develops a crush on him.
Oh God.
Thank God they didn't do that.
Yeah, that would be like fucking, what was that Adam Sandler movie that had the incest angle?
Oh, that's my boy. What a gross movie. What a terrible movie that was.
What a terrible fucking movie.
Oh. That movie almost killed Milo Ventimiglia's career.
It killed Adam Sandler's career for a while.
No, not really. It just made people.
Well, what good movies came? He really didn't get a career again until like recently with all those Netflix movies he's been doing.
Yeah, but when it's your studio that's producing your movies, you can't really kill your career. It's just less people will just watch. It just means less people will watch it for a while.
Yeah.
That's the power of being your own boss, kids. Don't forget it.
So they get into this boat chase now. Now the boat chase, for those who don't know, the boat chase was a scene that was taken from a different movie.
Really?
The entire boat chase sequence was in a different movie, and they added it to this movie. And you could tell because the guys that are driving the boats aren't even wearing the same clothes that they were wearing at the church and the.
Wait, like they ripped it complete? I actually did not.
It's actually from a different movie.
I actually did not notice that because when I was watching it today, I was doing a few other things in the background because it's one of those movies where like, because it's like because it's a good bad movie, you're really like, you don't really have to pay you don't have to pay attention to it. You could have it on in the background and like just like watch you could follow most of it and you get the gist of it, but you really like. You're like, this isn't demanding your attention like something like The Godfather would.
Yeah.
So I actually did not notice that during the boat chase. My thought was just like, why is the boat chase even here? This is just like too long of it. They're just dragging this out.
Yeah. It was from a different movie.
That's hysterical. What movie?
I actually don't know. I don't know if it was an actual movie that was completed or like it was a different John Woo movie that like they had unused footage for and they just used it. But yeah, it was not shot for this movie.
Oh, okay. I actually did get something on the. Hold on. I'm trying to find it in the thing.
Well, I'll just real quick finish the plot. So
find it.
They end the boat chase and Sean Archer in Nicolas Cage's body ends up beating Castor Troy in John Travolta's body, and he gets his face back on to the right place, his real face back on, and like then so Archer returns home, and then they adopt Adam, even though it's like, oh, I'm gonna just bring home this little boy that I found, and hopefully my family. This little boy that's going to need intense therapy for the rest of his life and is probably going to have emotional issues. I'm just going to like bring him home to my family and say, oh, I adopted him.
Yeah, there's like no fight. There's no anything like that. It's just like yeah, there's no fight scene, there's no nothing. They're like like it's just, oh hey kids, it's like, oh hey wife and daughter whose lives were in danger. We're like, here's your new little brother, and they just kind of accept it willy nilly, like they're
Yes.
like, oh guys, it's a puppy.
Yeah.
Oh we
Yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah.
it's this is just and then the kid can talk somehow.
Yeah.
Like he never speaks the whole movie, so you just kind of think that that's
Yeah,
what's
he's like
wrong.
nonverbal the whole movie, and then all of a sudden he
Yeah,
can talk.
yeah, like he just talks fine, and you're just like, wait, he can talk? Yeah, I can't find where the boat chase scene is from. But what I was going to say was, huh? They wanted him to take this. The studio wanted the John Woo to take the slash out of the title. He kept it in so people didn't think it was a hockey movie. That was smart, I guess. The first, oh yes, the first real life face transplant, 2012. Richard Norris, who accidentally shot himself in the face with a shotgun.
Oh my
The
god.
same, wait, the same year Face Off came out. Isn't that amazing?
Wow.
Weird and uncanny coincidences. My God.
Wow.
Where is where the hell? I saw something just now on something else that we said, and now I cannot find it. Damn it. Ah. Oh, here we go. The over the rainbow thing.
Yeah.
So the reason why he's listening to Somewhere Over the Rainbow, this was not in the original script. This was John Woo's idea, and Paramount did not want to finance the scene, so John Woo had to use his own money. And when they made money, they like when it did finally make money, the studio paid him back. But yeah, that also is why it's a little weird. I still think that they could have just not had any music at all, and the kid just had music that you couldn't hear. But
Yeah.
anyway, that was that. There is a similar scene in John Woo's Hard Boiled from 1992.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they just used, if they did use the boat chase scene from another movie, then maybe it was just one of John Woo's other movies.
It might have been.
But
So there
yeah,
there is
don't know.
there is something I wanted to mention. Apparently Face Off has been allegedly it was said that Face Off inspired the movie Internal Affairs, which was a Hong Kong movie, and which basically the whole concept of Internal Affairs is that there's a cop that goes undercover into a triad, and then there's a triad that have like a cop, like they have a mole in the police station basically, and was the basis for the movie The Departed, which of course.
Yeah, I've seen that actually. It's very good.
Yeah. So
I mean,
basically,
actually, the second, so the second, so that's like part of like there's several movies in that, but The Departed is based more on the second one, and the
yes,
second one, it's basically a shot for shot remake of the other one, and they just changed the sequence. They changed around the scene order.
yes. Um, well, so the whole point, what I was trying to make is that Internal Affairs is based on a Chinese concept called Bian Lian, I believe. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Bian Lian or Bian Lian. It's or which translates to change face. And basically it's used in Chinese opera at and kind of like basically it's the characters like the concept of characters swapping identities. Now in Internal Affairs and later in The Departed, they don't literally swap or they they're not like like literally taking their face off and putting it on and like that's it. Like the characters swap identities, and the fact that so let's in The Departed, Leonardo DiCaprio's character goes undercover as a member of Costello's, who's played by Jack Nicholson, his crew, which is like this like mafia, well it's the Irish mob basically in Boston. And Matt Damon's character is like someone that Costello had brought up from, you know, from being a kid to go to become a cop so he could be like Costello's man on the inside, basically.
Mm.
And be like a cop, but also like feed information to Costello, the bad guy. And so that's kind of like, you know, at the end of The Departed, like the head of the undercover unit, played by Martin Sheen, ends up getting killed. Like he gets thrown off a roof by Costello's guys, like the thugs, right? And then like so nobody knows. And then at the same time, the second in command and the undercover, who's played by Marky Mark, he gets suspended for insubordination. So there's like literally nobody that knows that Leonardo DiCaprio's character, Billy Costigan, is a cop. And he's like kind of stuck as like this bad guy, basically. And meanwhile, like the other guy, Matt Damon's character, is trying to like find out who the rat in Costello's crew is. And like, you know, eventually like Costigan finds out that Matt Damon is the rat, and it's a whole thing. But like it's very similar to how Face Off is, where, you know, when Archer's undercover in prison, he ends up like all the data that he like, you know, he was the real Sean Archer gets deleted, and basically he has to live as Castor Troy until he can try to get his identity back. So it's like, it's hilarious that Face Off inspired like The Departed, which, you know, Face Off, we're like, obviously we're saying, oh, it's kind of a stupid movie, blah, blah, blah. And like The Departed is like hailed as one of the greatest like films, you know, American films ever made, you know.
By the way, that speedboat scene is, they actually did film that. They blew most of the budget on it.
Really? Oh, see, yes. I always heard that it was not for this movie, and that's why they look so different. Like the people that are driving the speedboats, like the costumes aren't the same.
No, he used practical effects for this, so that's why it looks so different.
Huh?
Yeah, that just so that's the nugget there.
Well, there you go. So, overall, the movie actually surprisingly did very well at the box office, despite the fact that it was the 11th highest grossing film of 97, but it was, you know, following quite a bit of films that were like really good. So it was, you know, it was a tough year. But it made well over its budget at the box office. And also was like hailed by critics. Apparently it has a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is like very impressive for a movie. So that actually surprises me a lot, because it's like, you know, that's like something you would see like, you know, The Godfather would have 93%, or, you know,
right,
stuff like that. So the fact that Face Off has 93% kind of really makes me question Rotten Tomatoes.
I mean, it's one of those things, people like it. It's not necessarily a great movie, but it's a movie that people enjoy because of what it is. Like the novelty of just like how ridiculous of a film it is why people love it.
Yeah.
Because it is like so oddly unique in like the worst way, but it ends up making it be oddly unique in some of the best ways. Yeah. Like it's one of those movies where like everyone knows what they're getting, and they're like happy to be getting what they have with this. Like no one is upset about this movie existing.
No, I like the movie. I'm not going to try to say like, oh, it's a terrible movie and I hate it. Like I love this movie.
No, this is one of my favorite bad movies.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those ones that I want to make drinking games out of this. I want to invite people over and have a movie night for this. Like I want to, like, this is not a movie that like I want to tell people that like they need to see this. Like it's a fun movie to watch, which is most of Nick Cage's movies, honestly.
Yeah. Well, and this is considered part of they call it the Holy Trinity of Nicolas Cage action films, which started with The Rock and ended with Con Air. So it was The Rock, Face Off, and Con Air, which came out within a year of each other.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, Nicolas Cage in the 90s was like, you know, making, you know, hit after hit, basically.
Yeah. And he's kind of he's kind of having like a career renaissance now.
Yes, he is. Big
like
time.
Like I love Dream Scenario.
Yeah.
That movie was awesome, and like he's and then the unbearable weight of massive talent was one of my favorite movies that he's done because it
Yeah.
was just so fun. It was so fun, and Pedro Pascal, like he's a wonderful actor, but also he was like the most likable like drug kingpin that you've ever met. Like he was just like the sweetest guy in that movie, and you wanted to be friends with him.
Yeah.
And you were just like, oh, so what if he's killed a few people? Who hasn't killed a few people? Just come here, bud. Let's go to a baseball game. Like,
Yeah.
just one of those things. Like, I have to say, I have fully gone the other way on on Nicolas Cage from not being a big fan, like in my teens to early 20s
Yeah.
to like now when my mid 30 like early to mid 30s. I still got 1 year before I hit my mid 30s. um but I love his stuff. I'll watch anything that he's in. I've even gone back and watched it. Well, I watched Renfield because he was in it, and he was the only good thing about that movie.
Yeah.
He really was. I felt bad because they tried with like Nicholas Hoult, but they just didn't write it well. They were like,
Mhm.
you saw like what you wanted was more of like Renfield and Dracula, and they tried to do too many other side plots and other things where like it took away from what people wanted because Nick
Yeah.
Cage was great as Dracula. He was the exactly the Dracula that I hoped that he would be and more, but you barely get any of it, and there's too many other side plots that like makes the movie not really that good. I honestly like I stopped about like 2/3 of the way through because I was like, they really fucked this up by not showing enough Dracula.
Yeah.
But and that's my 2 cents on that movie. That's another movie for another day. But
Yeah.
I do want to say this before we ride off into the sunset. Face Off 2 is happening as of
Yeah.
like a month or so ago.
I want
They've
to know how.
they confirmed it's been confirmed. I guess there were rumors for a long time, but they confirmed it about a few days ago. I'm
Is it?
seeing
And is it going to be an actual sequel, or is it going to be a new, like a remake or a reboot?
I'm trying to find out what's going on now.
Because I don't understand how they're going to possibly do a sequel. Because first of all, like Castor Troy's dead, so like, I mean, they're going to
Yeah,
have somebody else that Sean Archer like has to go against and take his face off. Like, I don't know.
I guess maybe the son looks like the father, and
Oh,
they like they just have him play him.
maybe.
That's like the easy way to do it. Is like Adam Troy has to like is like equally bad, or I don't know. They maybe it's like reanimated and like maybe they just reanimate him and they just go full ridiculous. But yeah, so apparently, like there were plans to do this in September 2019 to remake it with a new cast, and now and then like in 2021 they went the other way and they decided that Adam Wingard would direct this and he would just make it a sequel. But I really don't know how we can do that because like I don't get it. But here we go. This is from Screen Rant. So actually, do I want to read the Screen Rant one? I mean, the show notes of the Screen Rant article is Face Off 2 is a direct sequel in development with a new director and some original actors interested in returning. Nick Cage has shared a story pitch involving the grown up children of the original characters engaging in a face swapping procedure. So I guess it's the son and the daughter. Okay, that would be weird and worse. That's kind of like Face Off meets um like Rob Schneider and the hot chick, but without Rob Schneider. That sounds like a recipe for disaster. And then the sequel will address previous plot holes and fix the body swap mistakes made in the original film. I don't really care about the body swap mistakes. I didn't even know there. I never even noticed the plot holes in the film because I was so entertained by all the
Yes.
stupid shit going on that I
Yeah, so
didn't
they're gonna
care.
make it bad by highlighting the plot holes. Like,
Yeah. So this is going to, so the sequel is going to be everything that it's not.
Yeah.
So like, what is?
They really need to fucking.
Yeah, they're like, fans have been anxious for another Yeah, this article sucks. Fans have been anxious for another face-off since the original success. Really? Who?
What fans?
What? Yeah. Who have you run into that has said, "Oh, I really wish they'd make another one"? Fucking nobody. This person is a hack. Whoever the writer is, I won't even say their name. This animal, I can't even say their name. So they're done. I'm not even reading this article. Let me try this one. This is yesterday. Nicolas Cage and John Travolta to return for Face Off 2. Is that true? Let's find out. In a more recent interview, okay. Okay, so back in 2022, it had been announced that Adam Wingard and this is Jordan Rumi of worldofreal.com. I've never heard of this place, so the person might not be half bad. Back in 2022, it had been announced that Adam Wingard, his longtime collaborator, writer Simon Bartlett, Barrett was teaming up for a sequel to 1997's Face Off. In a more recent interview, a year later, with the Fourth Wall podcast, Wingard seemingly teased that he would only make the film if the original cast returned. Look, I mean, the only way that we're going to really do this is if we get, the original cast. I'm not going to say how it works or anything but it's like, no, this is his quote, but it's got to be 100%. The real follow-up, not just like some fan service movie, not some like cha-ching thing. This has to feel like the ultimate follow-up to the original film. All right, I respect that. We now have an update from Daniel Richman. I don't know who the hell that guy is, and it's a real doozy. He's confirming that Nicolas Cage and John Travolta will be returning for the sequel. Okay, now I'm interested. There's no way it's going to... The only way it was going to work is if the characters from the original returned. Much of the fun from the 1997 film came from the bonkers alchemy that was created from between Cage and Travolta. That's true. You can't replicate that with any other actors. Also true. No production date has been announced, but between Travolta mostly starring in C movies and Cage's schedule being surprisingly light this year, we could maybe expect it to shoot soon. You're probably wondering how Cage could possibly return for the sequel if his character was shot by a harpoon and killed at the end of the original.
I'm wondering.
Yeah. Well, it's quite simple, really. Barrett, who was writing the sequel, has stated he doesn't believe Castor Troy, played by Cage, actually died.
Okay.
All right. We saw him die. I guess if there's... Well, you know what? I don't care. If they figure it out and it ends up being good, then that's fine. This Barrett fellow's quote is, the funny thing is I never personally thought Castor Troy died at the end of Face Off. When you watch it now, it's kind of clear that what they were actually probably doing was trying to have it both ways, where he looks pretty damn dead when he gets shot with the fishing spear, but they don't cover him up, and the back of it is him getting loaded on an ambulance. To me, don't load a person on an ambulance next to a living person without putting a sheet over them in a movie unless they're alive. Okay, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
Like, he was like, he could have been rushed to the hospital so that they can try to like keep him alive so that he could actually fulfill that prison term in that like Omega Max, in that like, yeah, in the Omega Max or whatever we called it.
Yeah.
That would kind of make sense, where like it leaves it just enough open where it's somewhat possible, but likely not really. Because he does have the exaggerated death where like he like keeps like shaking and like fidgeting and everything, and he's like making the like exaggerated noises. So like I guess by that logic, you could like he does have something here, believe it or not, folks.
I guess
it's a stretch. It's a stretch. It's a big stretch. But I guess that's their out. Anyway, yeah. I don't really know. But yeah, the rest of the article is just I truly hope for John Woo to be back for the sequel, but we'll have to settle with Wingard and Barrett. It's a real shame that Wingard, whom I've interviewed a few times, has recently been expending all of his creative energy on these ultra popular Godzilla X Kong movies. I actually liked that. I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
This is the same guy who showed great potential with 2011's You're Next, never watched it, and 2014's The Guest, never watched that. Hopefully he does a good job on the Face Off sequel. All right.
All right, is right.
Well, there you have it. This is confirmed that they are making the Face Off sequel for some reason.
All right, well.
Will it be good? Probably not. Will I watch it? Probably not in theaters. Maybe
No.
Eventually.
Wait till it comes. This is like one that you wait till it comes out on streaming. I
think.
Or
at best, maybe this is a movie that should only come out on streaming. I don't think. I mean, they're gonna put this in theaters because it's a thing. Yeah, you should probably. Like, I wouldn't spend money on this.
Nah. Oh, who knows? Maybe it'll come out and it'll be like the best movie ever made.
Maybe it's like, I mean, I find that to be a very unlikely prophecy, but stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
And on that note, Face Off is a bizarre movie. You should check it out. Right now, you can stream it on Peacock, and that's about it. You can also buy it and do all those other things, but the cheapest way that you'll probably do it is by, if you don't already own it or plan to pirate it, you just subscribe to Peacock. It's like I think I don't know how much it is. I honestly, I use a friend's account, so I didn't pay a damn thing. So if you can do that, do that. But Face Off, watch it when you have nothing to do during that day. Or if you just need to veg out, or, don't plan, or if you just have to do chores around the house, just, that's also a good time. Any time is a good time to watch this movie. Unless you're at work, then maybe don't watch it. But most times are good times to watch Face Off. This has been Why Does This Exist? I've been Chris.
And I've been Rob.
And remember, question everything.
Good night, everybody.